Greetings and blessed day to you once again, people of God. Just the Revelator once again, and hoping the grace and the mercy of our Lord Jesus Christ is with you until the end of time. We meet once again in yet another presentation inside the word of the Lord, and praying that His love, His mercy, His forgiveness, His sympathy and compassion will continue covering us until the end of time. Today, I've been assigned by the Holy Spirit to come and finally complete a series presentation that has been stretching throughout the whole of this week in multiple teachings which were also associated with the deliverance sessions, and praying that this final presentation is going to activate your understanding in the laws of altars, which is now going to be the part 2 presentation. Earlier on in the laws of altars, we explained quite a number of rules, regulations, conduct. We explained different diversities of behaviors, attitudes, characters that are required to be made manifest in a relevance and a relation to building altars. We explained the conditions of building altars. We explained the significance of altars. We explained how you as an individual, you are an altar, a living sacrifice, and how you offer yourself as a pure living sacrifice unto the Lord. Now, today, I want to take you into the other extension of the presentation, the laws of altars, which is now going to be part 2, as promised earlier. And for us to understand more on this part 2, let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 22 verse 1. And it reads, "And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said unto him, Take now thy son, thine only son, called Isaac, whom you love, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I will tell you of." This instruction that is being given unto Abraham is coming after Abraham has been praying for a long time. Not only has Abraham been praying for a long time, Abraham has been waiting for a long time. And in the process of all this waiting, he had become very old. Not only Abraham himself, but his own wife Sarah. And a lot has happened in the process of that time, which include a lot of doubt factors that were now affecting Sarah. Remember when the three angels that were in form of the three men that came to Abraham, and they promised him that his wife was going to bear a child, and how Sarah laughed to scorn. It was actually a significance of how Sarah had lost hope and thought it was now impossible for her to carry a child. But finally, Abraham and Sarah had that child according to the promise of the Lord. Now they have a child. After they now have a child, you can imagine how much they loved this child. Why? Because this is something that they've been waiting for a long time, to have a child of their own. Abraham had many servants. Abraham was rich in cattle, but he did not have a child. And finally, he has a child who's going to become the successor to Abraham's throne. And then God comes back to Abraham, instructing Abraham to take his only son, the very same son that Abraham only has. And the Lord is saying, take that son, go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering. You know, when you receive such a message, it doesn't matter the level of faith that you have. There are instructions that you can receive from God, which sound as the devil's voice. Like this instruction, Abraham had every reason to say, this is not God speaking to me. Even if you were Abraham and you are told to go and sacrifice your only son, and you come and say this is the devil's voice, no one is going to dispute with you. Everyone, 100% of the people are going to agree with you that this is the devil that wants to take what God has given you. But this was the voice of the Lord telling Abraham, go and sacrifice your son. Why? Because there are people that think an altar is supposed to be something that is very simple. Yet an altar is supposed to carry more weight, more impact. An altar is supposed to be more sacrificial than just bowing down and praying from your heart or praying with your lips. Sometimes praying just with your lips and your heart is far away. In a deliverance session, a disciple came with an altar. And when that disciple came with an altar, the moment a demon manifested, the very first thing that started burning this demon was the fact out of the confession that the demon was actually letting out the way that the altar has been presented. And the demon was saying, we've looked at the altar that she's carrying. It was only $15. And the demon was saying, we're looking at the way that she has presented this altar. She presented this altar wholeheartedly. She did not have any other issues inside her heart. She was not forced. She was not dragged. And what this demon was saying, it was actually true. Why? Because we also have people that have a tendency of saying demons are lying. What this demon was saying, it was actually true. Why? Because when I merely posted an earlier deliverance session clip that had some visions from another disciple, which were used as an instruction, this disciple actually inboxed me and volunteered willingly, without my instruction, to bring that altar. So an altar has to be erected out of willingness, and out of that willingness is not only seen by God, it is actually an effective ideology that is behind the altar that is erected, something that is studied even by the devil and his demons. So what the Lord wants to study in Abraham is, I've instructed you to sacrifice something that is so dear, so dearly inside your heart. Something that I know that you don't want to lose. Something that I know that you don't want to submit. That very amount of money that you don't want to fork out. If you're going to erect an altar because all things are well, if you're going to erect an altar because you are under normal circumstances, if you're going to erect an altar because I instructed you, if you're going to erect an altar because I forced you, if you're going to erect an altar only in times of danger, your altar is weak. Most of the altars that have been erected in this ministry, there has to be an instruction from the revelator, or there has to be a tragedy that forces a person to build an altar. It would be very cross for me to say those are not altars. But because I don't want to break your heart, I'll just call them altars. Why? Because it cannot be an altar just because there was a tragedy. Now you understand that you have to build an altar. Just because you almost died, and you now understand that I should build an altar right now, but moments ago you were saying you don't even have money. I don't understand that. Just because the business is now going down, you now understand that I should build an altar. Just because you are now fighting with your boyfriend, you now understand that you should build an altar. Just because you had sleepless nights last night, you now understand that you should build an altar. Just because your kid, your baby, is now sick, you now understand that you should build an altar. These are the altars that are understood by mysteries and revelations disciples. They build altars in times of tragedies. So if you call them to build an altar when all things are well, if you instructed them to build an altar under normal circumstances, they feel robbed. They have a mentality of thinking that the revelator wants to fundraise. So these people, what they are doing is that they are actually using me. Why? Because they only believe that they should build an altar when all things are well. Are you telling me that when you are at the age of divorcing and I tell you to build an altar, you're going to build an altar of that little petty money that you are building an altar? Are you telling me that if the devil really takes it upon himself to enter your home to destroy your marriage, to cause sicknesses in your children, if the devil introduces Jezebels to your husband, if the devil is about to kill one of your children, when a bad thing has befallen your family, are you telling me this is the little amount of money that you use to build an altar? And you believe that the revelator is the one that is going to deliver you. Do you know why? Because you know that there is no other man of God that is foolish or stupid to that level of accepting that little bit of money that you use to build an altar. You know that in this era, there is no other man of God that can tolerate you. This is why the revelator is the only subject that comes inside your head. Why? Because the revelator has humbled himself in this type of calling. He has reduced himself. Abraham has been told, build an altar. I want to see your sacrifice, but I've already told you, Abraham, the sacrifice that I want is yours. Imagine, this is God demanding what he wants, not what Abraham wants. And the one that is being tested has been loyal. He has been always dedicated in the things of God. And Abraham is being told this when there is no crisis. He has passed his test of waiting for the fruit of the womb. And the Lord is testing him to give that which is the dearest inside his own heart. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, circled his ass, and took 2 young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clove the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. What level of obedience is this? He did not even dispute with God. Abraham did not start explaining the economy of the nation. Abraham did not start reasoning about how much money he or she is supposed to put on the altar. Abraham did not start scratching his head, wondering why the revelator wants that particular amount of money. Abraham represents a character in a spiritual instruction that takes instructions decisively. He does not reason. He does not wonder. He does not imagine nonsense. When instructed to build an altar, Abraham does not imagine that the Lord is trying to rob him. In actual fact, Abraham represents the most obedient character when it comes to altars, when it comes to offerings, when it comes to partnership, even tithes. So Abraham prepared all that was required. The wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went into the place which God had told him. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place from a distance. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide here with the donkey, which is the ass, and I and the lad will go beyond and worship, and will come back unto you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And the funny thing is that Isaac is not resisting. And this thing has been caused by the Lord himself. Don't think that Isaac was at the age of not being able to speak. Why? Because he actually had questions that he asked his father. Isaac was laid on the altar. Wood was already prepared upon Isaac. Abraham is now prepared to kill his own son, just to fulfill an instruction that he has been given by the Lord. This is more than faith. This is more than belief. This is more than sacrifice. This is the highest level of obedience. An altar can only have value after I've calculated the level of obedience. After I've calculated the level of obedience that has been made manifest by the one that has been given that instruction. And Abraham has proved the highest level of obedience in presenting his own son on the altar. What makes Abraham's altar very powerful is that what is there on the altar, it is not some cheap stuff that he can spare off. You are making thousands of dollars, you are making hundreds of dollars, and you build an altar with $20. You are silly. Your altar is useless. You are making hundreds of bucks, thousands of bucks. The Lord knows even the profits that you are making. And the little amount of money that you are using to build altars, it's as if you are just fulfilling an instructions in a pretension, in a pretense. Don't tell me that you don't have money. In this ministry, let me tell you, you people, if you want to, I'll confess even the name of the person. The only person that has made a sacrifice that I've recorded, the highest level of sacrifice that I've recorded, is Petronella. A sacrifice that is beyond which I can relate with according to this presentation. There's a sacrifice that is out of this world where you know that this person has overstretched himself or herself. It was Petronella. When she paid for the whole flight, back to back, connecting flights. Am I saying all of you, your sacrifices were not worthy? Yes, there are some of you also that have made worthy sacrifices. But when you pinch the little from the abundance that you have, do you know what made the woman that gave a coin the one that had given the most? It is because it is the little, it was the only coin that she had. But others that were putting what was assumed as large sums of money, Jesus did not count it. At the level of being Jesus, why didn't Jesus count it? He knew that these people have got more money, but they are sparing the little from the abundance that they have. You have got 2,000 to 3,000 US in your home, and you built an altar with 20 US. You are stupid. In actual fact, you are disrespecting me. But because I love you as a disciple, I'll just accept your little useless money. For what sake? For the sake that God does not condemn you. Just this week, I dealt with the cases of people that were about to die. People that were about to depart from earth. Things, situations, tragedies that you know that a hospital can never deal with that. But look at how much you have spent in hospitals, in certain situations. I'm telling you the truth. I've only accepted altars out of love and out of mercy. Otherwise, the altars that you are building, some of you, there are some that I know that they actually don't have money, and I know that they earn little salaries. Some that I know that they are still students. Some that I know that they are just employees. I will spare them because I know they've got little salaries. I'll give an example of Nyasha, one of my disciples. He's just a student, he's not working, he's still at school. I know the people that are earning money, and even if you don't take this instruction, even if the one that thinks that I'm aiming, if you are the one that thinks I'm aiming at you right now, yes, I'm aiming you. Your altar is useless. You are not thankful for what God has done for you. If you are thankful, you'll know that an altar shouldn't be money that even your own daughter or son can't accept. Money that you know that within a week, this is not the amount of money that you give your son. This is not the amount of money that you give your daughter. This is not even money that when you want to just go out with your wife, you can spend that little petty amount of money. I'm rebuking you. But I never rebuked you when you were building an altar. Do you know why? It's because I wanted also to humble myself before the Lord so that your altar can be accepted by the Lord. Because I know what can happen if I reject it in the presence of the Lord. Even if you fork out that 10 US, it will not be accepted. By virtue that the man of God who is representing the altar of God has rejected your sacrifice, it also gets rejected in the realms. We need to open up to each other. These $10, $20, $30 that you're building for altars, and you are making me feel as if you are, you even make me feel like you are sustaining my life. Do you really think think these 30 bucks, these 20 bucks, these 10 bucks that you're building altars, you are the ones that are taking care of me and my wife. The fees that I'm paying for my daughter Angels, it doesn't even amount to that little petty money that you're building altars with. In actual fact, let it be known that a disciple who is not even going to work, who is a student, volunteered to pay fees for my daughter. Some things have to be let out. Some things that I did not want to let out have to be let out. A disciple who is a student, who's not even going to work, does not even own a company, volunteered to say, I want to pay fees for your daughter Revelette. When people that are boarding flights cannot even think of that, when people that are running companies cannot even think of that, why are you only speaking about our weaknesses, Reveletta? Do we not have good things that we did? Yes, you have got it. All of you have got good things that you have done. But I will not talk about the good things that you have done when I have things that I need to perfect you. You need to get rebuked, you people. You are undermining the office of a man of God. Imagine of anything that you have done for the Revelator, which you believe that it was a very great thing. What is that thing? Because there is something that you can do for your girlfriend, a girlfriend that you're cheating with. A girlfriend that you're cheating with, you know that a girlfriend that you're cheating with, you can actually buy a mobile phone. What is it that you have done for the Revelator, which even if you leave this ministry today, I can remain here and write it down. So far, I have already told you without beating about the bush. In my ministry archives, I've written that there is a disciple who sacrificed his money that she wanted to use to buy a car, booked flights, back to back, connecting flights for the Revelator, his wife and daughter. That I've written, even if this disciple backslides. These prayers that I do today, they should sustain this disciple forever. Your sacrifice has to be worthy. Your sacrifice has to challenge the man of God. I'm telling you, that sacrifice, it challenged me up until today. There's no way I can forget about that. It cannot get out of my head. What had got inside this disciple? This month, imagine, I was supposed to go to ministers' conference. I can't because the disciple who made that sacrifice, she's having financial challenges. And even if she was not having financial challenges, I know I would not expect one disciple to do that. I was supposed to go to ministers' conference, but I'm going to watch online. Do you know why? Because all other disciples, none of them can reason. They want me to bootlick. I'm not going to bootlick you. You can actually hear, you can actually feel it when someone is putting his or her money. He has got it, or she has got it, this other voice of grieving and complaining. A grieving and complaining voice from the background. By the time you are presenting your 30 US, by the time you are presenting your 10 US, by the time you are presenting your weak altar, let me tell you one thing, it is already useless. Do you know why? Because number one, you are grieving. Number two, it is so leaky. It is money that you and your wife, it is money that you and your son, it is money that you and your daughter cannot spend, even if you decide to have lunch in a cafe, in a restaurant. You would not use that petty amount of money. And this is the petty little amount of money that you are grieving when building an altar. And the altars that you are being told to build, they are working on behalf of your life. It's not my life. This is why I've told my wife that we haven't started ministry. This is why I've told myself that I haven't started ministry. The year or the day that I'll start ministry, I know the people that the Lord is going to send. These are the statistics that are going to be used for the disciple of the year. I'll be making an overall check, and I know that in your heart you always say, I don't care about this disciple of the year because it doesn't give me money. You see your mentality. It's because you actually know that money has got more value than honor without money. You see, I read that mentality when the Lord told me that look at this mentality in this person, look at this mentality in this person. Whenever I present the disciple of the month, which other ministry honors people that are putting money in ministry? Go and put your money right now in another ministry and see if they even remember your name. Why? Because they know that it is your right. It is an instruction. It is a must you are supposed to give. Not just bothering a man of God when you have got problems. When your husband starts cheating, the way that you present the matter, it's as if you are blaming me. It's as if you are accusing me. It's as if I'm the one. It's as if I'm the one who's cheating you. The way that a person builds an altar before a crisis can tell you that this person has learned from last time. The way that a person builds an altar, the way that a person erects an altar after being earlier warned can actually give you signs that this person has learned his or her lesson. God is able to know that Abraham really means building an altar here. He's not playing games. He's even prepared to kill his own son. The fire has been prepared. Abraham is taking out a knife. He's about to kill his own son. And the Lord that was in heaven saw that this Abraham means serious business. He even lied to his own son that he had another sacrifice that was prepared, which was not even there. He was even prepared to deceive his own son and to murder his own son for the sake of fulfilling God's commandments, for the sake of following God's voice. And he says, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. When he said these words, he didn't know that God was actually going to provide it. He was speaking out of faith. In actual fact, he was not speaking out of faith. He was actually deceiving his son. And the Lord, after he had seen the heart that Abraham had, an angel of the Lord stopped Abraham and said, do not kill your son, for I've seen your obedience. I've seen your sacrifice. I've seen how you love me. I've seen how you love me in the way that you build altars. I've seen how you love me as your mentor in the way that you sacrifice. Do you know that I've had a fallout with this disciple that is in Cape Town so many times? But when I remember his sacrifice, When I remember what she has done, there is no one and there is nothing. Even if you come and tell me that she is saying bad things about me, it will be so difficult for me to believe you, because I will remember her sacrifice. Even if she does a bad thing, it will be so difficult for me to punish her, because I always remember her sacrifice. This is how God related with men. This is how God still relates with men up to now. He saw how Abraham was prepared to kill his own son, and he provided the lamb and said, I've seen how you love me, Abraham. I've seen how much you honor me. I've seen your obedience. After he had bound Isaac and was prepared to kill Isaac, I've seen how you fear me. And Abraham was given the lamb for offering. Child of God, I'm here, sent by the Holy Spirit, sent through the conviction of the Spirit to utter the word that does not care how you feel, but to utter the instruction from above. The effectiveness of altars, the proper way of building altars, in the name of Jesus.